There was a time when Sylvester Stallone stood at the very top of Hollywood, his face the symbol of strength, his name echoing through theaters across the world. But behind the glory of Rocky and Rambo, there was another side of Stallone few people ever saw. A man shaped by pride, rivalry, and the wounds that fame quietly leaves behind. In the golden age of action films, Stallone didn't just fight battles on screen. He fought them in real life against men who challenged his success, questioned his talent, or wounded his ego. Some rivalries burned fast and faded. Others lasted for decades. But each one left a scar, a reminder that even the strongest man in the ring could be fragile in his heart. Today, we look back at the 6 people who once stood on the wrong side of Sylvester Stallone's pride, stories of friendship turned bitter, of laughter turned into silence, and of a man who never forgot when he'd been humiliated. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the rival who defined an era. It all began in 1977. At the Golden Globe Awards, Stallone had just finished Rocky, his miracle movie, his personal triumph from nothing to greatness. That night, he expected to be celebrated, to see his dream crowned before the world. But instead, every time Rocky lost a category, he saw something that burned deep inside him. Arnold Schwarzenegger laughing in the audience. Arnold was new to Hollywood, then a giant from Austria with a smile that said he knew exactly what he was doing. When he walked away with the award for New Star of the Year, Stallone's pride shattered. In a moment of anger, he threw a bowl of flowers at Arnold's head. That impulsive act didn't just mark a bad night. It started a war that would define both men for the next 15 years. Through the 1,980 seconds, Stallone and Arnold turned their rivalry into an unspoken arms race. Stallone had Rocky's second, I, IV, and First Blood. Arnold answered with Conan, The Terminator, and Predator. Each film felt like a challenge. Each success, another blow in their private Cold War. Even their jokes were weapons. Arnold mocked a Rambo poster in Twins, while Stallone beat up an Arnold look-alike in Tango and Cash. Off-screen, the games were crueler. Arnold tricked Stallone into taking the script for Stop, or My Mom Will Shoot, pretending he wanted the role himself. Stallone grabbed it out of pride, and critics destroyed the film. Years of competition turned into public mockery. 2 legends too proud to lose. But time, as it always does, softened the anger. In the 2000s, they stood side by side in The Expendables, 2 old warriors finally at peace. Stallone later admitted, "We were fierce rivals, but that rivalry pushed us both to do our best." It started with humiliation. It ended with respect. And in that strange way, only Hollywood understands. Their hatred made them brothers. Kirk Douglas, the ego clash on First Blood. By 1982, Stallone was no longer just the underdog from Rocky. He had become a force in Hollywood, writing, producing, and shaping every story he touched. When the opportunity came to adapt First Blood, he wanted more than an action film. He wanted to create a character who spoke for broken veterans, for men left behind by their own country. That vision was almost destroyed by one man, Kirk Douglas. Douglas was already a legend, the immortal face of Spartacus and Paths of Glory. When he joined the cast to play Colonel Trautman, everyone believed it was a perfect match, old Hollywood grace meeting new Hollywood power. But perfection didn't last long. Douglas read the original novel and demanded a different ending. Rambo must die. He argued again and again, saying, Kirk Douglas wouldn't play it this way. Kirk Douglas needs a stronger ending. It wasn't about the story, it was about control, legacy, pride. To Stallone, it was sabotage. He saw Rambo not as a killer, but as a survivor, a man broken by war, not defined by death. The argument turned the set into a battlefield of egos. Finally, director Ted Kotcheff had enough. He told Douglas, "This is the film we're making. If you don't like it, you can leave." And Douglas walked away. Just days into production, he was gone, replaced at the last minute by Richard Crenna, who learned his lines on the drive to set. Ironically, Crenna's calm and fatherly tone gave the film its emotional heart, grounding Stallone's rage with quiet compassion. Rambo lived, and so did the message survival against all odds. The film became a global hit and the beginning of a billion-dollar franchise. Stallone never forgave Kirk Douglas for trying to change it. Years later, he said, "Some actors care more about their exit than the story itself." He didn't need to name names. Everyone knew who he meant. Kirk Douglas became the man remembered for almost killing First Blood. Stallone, the man who saved it. Eddie Murphy, the friendship destroyed by rumors. In the late 1980 seconds, Sylvester Stallone and Eddie Murphy were not rivals, they were brothers in fame. Two of Hollywood's brightest stars, both at the top of their game, sharing laughs, parties, and quiet respect. They came from different worlds, Stallone the tough fighter from Philadelphia, Murphy the sharp-tongued comedian from New York, but success had made them equals. Then, one rumor changed everything. In 1987, Stallone's wife, Brigitte Nielsen, joined the cast of Beverly Hills Cop 2, starring opposite Eddie Murphy. On set, she was radiant, magnetic, the kind of woman the camera loved and the tabloids never ignored. Whispers began to spread that there was more than acting between Murphy and Nielsen. The gossip grew, fed by crew members and Hollywood papers hungry for scandal. Stallone was humiliated. For a man who built his career on pride and control, the thought of betrayal, even as a rumor, cut deep. He called Murphy directly. "What's going on between you and Brigitte?" he demanded. Murphy denied it. But the damage was done. Trust evaporated overnight. Their once lively conversations turned into strained silences. Friends were forced to pick sides. By the early 1990 seconds, their friendship was gone, replaced by a cold distance that neither man ever truly bridged. Years later, Eddie Murphy would say it was sad that gossip destroyed something real. But Stallone, ever the soldier, never looked back. To him, loyalty wasn't just a word, it was a line you couldn't cross. Hollywood turned their silence into spectacle. Magazines compared their box office numbers, fueling rumors of rivalry. What began as a misunderstanding became another scar on Stallone's long list of broken friendships. The laughter that once united them had vanished, leaving only the quiet echo of what might have been. Richard Gere, the mustard incident that never died. Before the fame, before the Oscars and blockbusters, there was a small film called The Lords of Flatbush. It was 1974, and both Sylvester Stallone and Richard Gere were unknowns, two hungry young actors trying to carve their way into Hollywood. It should have been a chance for friendship. Instead, it became one of the pettiest and most enduring feuds in the industry. Stallone had co-written the script and poured everything into his role as Stanley Rosiello, the tough guy with a soft heart. Gere joined the cast with his own vision, a method actor, precise, serious, a perfectionist to the bone. From the first day, their energies clashed. Stallone's raw instinct met Gere's quiet arrogance, and tension filled the room like smoke. Then came the sandwich. During a cramped car scene, Gere was eating a chicken sandwich dripping with mustard. One careless bite, and the mustard spilled onto Stallone's pants. It was small, maybe even accidental. But for Stallone, it was the final straw. Without hesitation, he threw an elbow, hitting Gere and ordering him out of the car in front of the stunned crew. The set went silent. Everyone knew what had just happened and what it meant. Days later, Gere was fired. The official reason? Creative differences. The truth? Stallone had won. Decades later. Neither man forgot it. Gere once said, Stallone's temper was like a storm waiting to break. Stallone, on the other hand, mocked the incident publicly, brushing it off as a personality clash. But everyone in Hollywood knew there was no forgiveness between them. When Gere later became a star in American Gigolo, and an officer and a gentleman, rumors whispered that he still carried resentment towards Stallone, that the mustard stain never really washed away. And maybe Stallone didn't want it to. In an industry where image is everything, sometimes a grudge is the only proof that you once mattered to someone. Bruce Willis, the brotherhood broken by greed. By the time The Expendables came to life, Stallone had already survived every war Hollywood could throw at him: fame, failure, reinvention. The movie was meant to be his victory lap, his tribute to the brotherhood of 1,980 seconds action heroes who once ruled the box office with guns, sweat, and loyalty. Among that brotherhood, one man stood closest to Stallone's heart: Bruce Willis. They were kindred spirits, both self-made, both weathered, both symbols of a fading era. When Willis joined The Expendables as the mysterious CIA man Church, Stallone saw it as a reunion of equals. The chemistry worked. Fans loved it. It felt like two legends sharing the same fire again. But the bond didn't last. By 2013, as production began for The Expendables 3, Stallone offered Willis a role once more. The response stunned him. Willis demanded $4 million for just 4 days of work, no negotiation, no compromise. $1 million a day. For Stallone, who had built the franchise on loyalty and respect, it felt like betrayal. He didn't cave. Instead, he cut Willis from the film and brought in Harrison Ford to replace him. Then, for the first time in his career, Stallone made the feud public. On Twitter, he called Willis greedy and lazy. The words echoed through Hollywood like gunfire. Overnight, the friendship that had symbolized an era was gone, replaced by silence and awkward distance. Fans noticed Willis' absence. And though The Expendables 3 still made over $200 million, something had changed. The magic of the old team was gone. Stallone drew his line in the sand: loyalty over fame, brotherhood over greed. And he never looked back. To this day, the two men avoid each other. No reconciliations. No public smiles. Just silence, the kind that says more than anger ever could. Reflection and closing. 6 rivals. 6 wounds. 6 reminders that behind Sylvester Stallone's power was always a man fighting to be respected not just by the world, but by his peers. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kirk Douglas, Eddie Murphy, Richard Gere, Bruce Willis. Each name marked a different chapter in Stallone's journey. Some stories ended in laughter, others in lifelong silence. But all revealed the same truth: fame does not protect the heart. It only magnifies every slight, every rumor, every act of pride until it becomes part of the legend. For Stallone, every feud carried its own lesson. Arnold taught him that rivalry could build greatness. Douglas showed him that ego can destroy art. Murphy reminded him that friendship can vanish with one careless whisper. Gere proved how small things can create lasting divides. And Willis, perhaps the hardest of all, reminded him that loyalty, once broken, can never be bought back. As the years passed, the fire cooled, but the memories stayed. Stallone, now in his late 70s, speaks of the past with a weary kind of peace, a man who has fought too many wars to hate anyone anymore. In the end, he once said, "The fight was never really against them. It was against myself, against fear, pride, and the need to prove I belonged." And maybe that's the real story behind all those rivalries, not of anger, but of survival. Because in Hollywood, as in life, sometimes the hardest battles are not the ones in the ring or on screen, but the ones we fight quietly, when the lights go out and no one is watching.